Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build in Moondwood Mill, which came with the Werewolves game pack. I think at the time of my recording it came out last week, I want to say. And on your way in, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps so much. And today we are building an abandoned, I guess I'm going to say it's a factory. Now, I don't exactly know what happened here. I don't know what the factory was for, but it kind of looks like a factory, a warehouse, an old train station, all in one. I think I can get away with it. I mean, you'll probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I can get away with it, especially because it's fully abandoned and I turned it into a nightclub, which I'm thrilled with. I don't think I've ever made a nightclub in my entire life. Like in my years of building in The Sims, I've never made a nightclub. I've never really explored the lot type that much. And I actually did struggle to determine which lot type this should be because I think you could go a few different directions with it. Now, I was going to try to make it a restaurant, but I recently finished another restaurant in Evergreen Harbor. I don't know if I've shared it yet on the channel. If not, it's coming soon. If I have, then it's called The Caboose. I'm not like spoiling anything, but anyway, what I ended up doing is I created 3 separate buildings. One of them is basically just kind of where the train would be coming in, where you could like unload things and stuff. I don't really know. There's nothing in there. It's completely empty. There's like railroad tracks just for the looks, but there are 2 stories to each of the other buildings, and there is a bar out in the back with the new little bus shell that we got with the Werewolves game pack. I really love that item, and I love being able to put a bar on the slot. So there's a bar, there's a DJ stand, there's a busking station, there are a few different card tables, there are some bookshelves here so like you can read books, there are a few different stereos, of course, for music, there's dance floors, and there are ping pong tables. So this is just like an overall hangout area. It met all the criteria for a nightclub, but this can really be whatever kind of lot type that you would like. It could even be generic, and you might just have to hire some of the staff for, like, for example, the DJ station or the busking station. There's really kind of like no happy medium, I feel like sometimes, especially if you want to make multi-purpose lots. So I decided with a nightclub, and you can see that the shape is already coming together. I had so much fun with this lot. I think I did it in about 2 days. There was a lot of conceptualization prior to actually trying to execute the design, because I think I built one building in San Myshuno that was kind of like an old mill building, or at least it was supposed to be, and I turned it into just like a giant like studio apartment or something with the possibility of having a business on the bottom floor. It was okay, but it was really just a rectangle. I mean, this is a rectangle too, but I feel as though I'm not very good at building things like this, like very industrial style warehouses, factories. You know, I don't know what used to be produced here or what this was really for, so I didn't really know how to show that in the design, but I did a lot of research prior to that. I've tried to find a lot of reference images to work off of, and it's really the roofing. That's what I noticed. It's the roofing that gets to me the most, because I didn't know what to do here. You can see me struggling with it right now. I was trying to get like these little corner smokestacks. I was trying to get this weird little upper level that you wouldn't actually access. I didn't know what to do with it. So off camera, I ended up figuring out the roof, but I showed a little bit of it here just to show you that there's always a struggle with something with a build. And you guys will see it more so in the screenshots and as we move through. But now I am just trying to use the tool mod to add some of these window bars that are actually in the debug menu from Strangerville. I thought it would be perfect to kind of show the age of the building, I guess. I was trying to think, like, when would this have been built? Maybe back in like the 40s or 30s, maybe even earlier. I really don't even know. You know what I was picturing is because I'm from New England, and there are a lot of historic parts of New England across various states. And there's a lot of just like old mills and things like that. And I've seen some with bars like this on the windows because obviously it wasn't safe. So I don't know. That's kind of what I was just picturing. But anyway, I'm fencing in the entire property now because, again, I think this is supposed to be somewhat off limits. There are, of course, gates for your Sims to get in. But I did fence the entire thing. I pulled out that crane from the debug menu from the Werewolves game pack. There's also the porta potties, which just crack me up. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but I believe that they actually do serve a purpose where they are out in the world. But I just wanted them here for show because I thought it would be perfect for maybe an old abandoned warehouse or factory. Maybe this is where the workers would have to relieve themselves. Or maybe at one point there was an intention or even an attempt to try to renovate or refurbish this entire place and make it functional again. So maybe there's some construction at one point. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. I just thought it was fitting. There's also just some old tires, some old like construction lights. And I was originally going to try to put the bar, like the bus shell out front, but it was just way too big, I think, for this area. So I do put it in the back, like I mentioned earlier. I also grabbed one of these signs, but eventually I do get rid of it only because I couldn't find a place where it looked balanced enough for me. Now I did put the fire pit here. I do have to play test it still. I believe it should work fine, but I do have to play test it. I play tested some other aspects of this build that I was very uncertain if they would work or not. Everything else works. I just didn't test the fire pit, so hopefully it's not a problem. If it is, it might be the piles of trash. It also might be this stone circle that I ended up putting here from the debug menu. I would definitely just check it out and test it if you want to know and remove some things around it. And I apologize if it does not work, but I am now using the tool mod to take some of these pallets and make them look as though they're leaning up against the fence, just so it adds a little bit more realism and depth, I think, to this area, because this area is completely trashed. I wasn't thinking that this was going to be a well taken care of nightclub. It was essentially a DIY nightclub by the community. That was kind of my thought process. I mean, the windows are kind of still boarded up. There's some guards on them, like some reinforcement things on them. There's these tarp curtains. Like, there's a sense of wanting some privacy in here and trying to rehab a little bit, but it really isn't a valiant effort in any way, shape, or form. There's also a dumpster here from Eco Lifestyle, so there is a woohoo spot. There's actually a few. There are no bathrooms on this lot. I will disclose that. And when I say no bathrooms, I mean no bathroom stalls or individual bathrooms in any of these buildings. I put like 4 or 5 of the woohoo bushes. Technically, they're pea bushes from the Werewolves game pack around this entire lot. So if your Sims do have to use the restroom, they can just use a bush. I did that because I was thinking this was mainly a werewolf hangout and they'll just like go to the bathroom on the ground anyway. So what's the point in making a bathroom? But just fair warning, there's no formal bathroom. There are just a bunch of like pea bushes around this entire lot. So there's that, but I'm also using... It just makes me laugh when I say it out loud. But I am using terrain paint here. I use that for pretty much the entire lot. I was originally going to try to use this more pristine pavement, but it just didn't seem to fit. I wanted this to be a little bit broken, a little bit more not upkept, I suppose you could say. And there's also this little almost courtyard area, this right here, between these two buildings. I didn't put anything here, so this is kind of a space where you can include things if you wanted to. It's more of just kind of a entry point for the two buildings, as well as to get to the back of the build where the bar is. And then I also made this little bridge. That was my main goal, is I wanted these two buildings to be connected in some capacity, and I really wanted to use this new spandrel from the Werewolves game pack. So I made this little, like, I'm not going to say it's rickety because this is a metal bridge, but there's a metal bridge connecting both of these. And I end up doing something that I saw in some of the builds that shipped with this pack, is there were various roof pieces that were used to kind of make it look like parts of the roof were missing. You guys will either see it in the screenshots or on camera. I don't actually recall if I do it on camera or not, but you'll see it eventually. And I just thought it looked really, really cool, where one building has like at least a semi-solid roof, and then this one on the left is just going to have like these jagged, broken roof pieces. The roof is going to be totally incomplete, and it actually means that the build itself, at least that second story, is completely exposed to the elements. So if you do have seasons, if it's raining or snowing, this building is not going to protect you from the elements in any capacity. But I thought it was kind of a nice sacrifice to make it look like it was broken, run down, and everything. And I really liked that look from some of the builds that shipped with the pack in the first place. I thought that was such a cool idea and such a cool way to use the spandrels and use some of these new items. So here is where I am starting to try to figure out how to do that and make it look somewhat realistic. So I did have to put a one tile, I guess I'll call it like a foundation on each side to make it look like this was the base of the roof. And that way it looks a little bit more realistic, but I got rid of the ceiling, obviously. I wanted to leave it open, and then I just started making some random semi-roof pieces to make it look as though this roof had completely fallen apart or gotten destroyed or something. It kind of lets the sunlight in, it lets the moonlight in, but it also lets in the other elements such as rain and snow and cold, and that's not ideal for everybody, but I really liked how it looked, so hopefully you guys don't mind. But I also changed out to the other tile, or not tile, but the metal roof that has some of the skylights in it. I thought that would be really nice. I really like that roof pattern as well. I think it's really useful, and I like that we also got a version that didn't have those. That was really great, in my opinion. And now I'm just adding those like tarp curtains on the outside, the bars on the windows, those little, I think they're called like sliding shades or something that also came with this pack. I don't actually remember what they're called. I can't recall what they are called. And then in the back here, I think I do it off camera, but I do include the bar there. There's kind of this very small area where the bar ends up being, but I wanted to get the front looking solid before I even moved on to that or moved on to the interior. And this was so weird. I tried to rotate this and look, it becomes flat when you rotate it on a certain axis. It was the weirdest thing in the world, so I ended up not even trying to touch it. I was just adding some more clutter details, some kind of like garbage everywhere, some of the other small things that I knew I was going to forget about if I just moved on to the interior. And then there are also these water tower things from the debug menu from Eco Lifestyle. I don't show it on camera, but I actually put I'm going to say a room up top, and I included a ladder and a telescope so your Sims can actually climb to the top of those water towers and like look at a telescope via one of them, or just like stand at the top and look over the entire town if they wanted to from the other. I was so happy because if you guys didn't know, usually debug items your Sims can just like walk right through because they don't identify them as actual game items, if that makes any sense. And therefore, the ladder kind of goes through the water tower. Your Sim might disappear as they climb it, but they will climb it. They will go all the way to the top, and it almost sort of blends with the top of the water tower itself in color and texture. I was so thrilled. It's probably one of my prouder moments from this build as a whole, because I really didn't think it was going to work. I thought it was going to be an impediment of some kind. I thought it was going to prevent my Sims from climbing up the ladder, but it worked perfectly. I was thrilled. It added just a bit more character, I think, to this build. But here are the two entry points. So there is only one way to get to the second floor of the building that is currently on the right hand side, and that's via that bridge because I didn't put any stairs in. And here's the bar. There are 3 picnic tables out here. There's also a few gardening plots. There is, I want to say, maybe another bench or two. I can't really recall. There's the community board as well that came with this pack. And then I'm just adding like some grass around here just to make it look as though it's really not tended to. Back here is where I also add a couple of those bushes. I think there's like 2 or 3 amidst all of this. I add some piles of dirt too, just to kind of add a little bit more realism. I use this new terrain paint, which is just such a godsend. I love this terrain paint with the pine needles. It really matches the world, and I was so thrilled to see that we got that. And I also added a bunch of debug trees and plants, and I used not only the bus shell, but also the bar that we got with this pack. And then I just matched it with a couple of the base game kind of industrial stools. Yeah, the bar height stools. That's what I was trying to think of. I think I was going to use the makeshift wood ones, but I think the metal ones matched a little bit better for this build, in my opinion. I'm just adding a few more details here, like some little lanterns on the picnic tables, which are from Journey to Batu. I love these picnic tables so much. I actually used a fair amount of Journey to Batu in this build as well because it's so industrial. But now we are on to the interior. So this is the building to the right, the very first floor. I added a platform in the corner because it was kind of an awkward corner. And then I chose these bar height tables from Cottage Living, paired them with, again, I think those industrial bar height stools from base game. And up on that little platform is going to be the busking station that we get with, I believe it's City Living. I can't recall. Yeah, it's City Living. And I thought this would be kind of nice. So if your Sim wanted to come here and play guitar or violin, they could. They could hire someone to do that if you're trying to like stage a scene for something that you're playing. But there's also that stereo from Discover University in the back. I love that stereo because it can be disguised as just like a prop to a set like this, or you can use it if you don't want to hire a busker, but you still want your Sims to kind of come out here and enjoy some music. You can kind of set the stage that way and you could play some music via that stereo right there. And now I'm just adding a bunch of other details. There's a handful of tables here. There is a couch in the back because I feel like in a lounge or something, There's always like a nice comfy couch where you can just like chill for a little while, even maybe in a nightclub. I don't frequent many nightclubs, so I wouldn't know. I'm very much a homebody, but I also added these fans from the Werewolves pack paired with these lights from Journey to Batu yet again. I did this again in another build recently, and I just loved it so much. I didn't change the color of the lights here, but that is probably something that I would do now that I think about it. I also added that thing over there from Journey to Batu. Now, I don't actually know what it is, but I was thinking that it could be like an industrial looking ATM, or maybe it's a jukebox that's connected to that speaker in the back. So, just kind of pretending that your Sims could go there and pick a song and then it would play. I thought that was kind of a neat idea. We do have a jukebox in the game, but it definitely didn't match the style, so I didn't really want to use it. I also used these rugs from the Werewolf game pack. I did use the tool mod to size them up just ever so slightly, because using the shift bracket key made them really, really big. And these lights, yet again, Journey to Batu. I use this pack a lot. I will say this now. I have used this pack more than I ever thought I would, and now I'm happy I bought it. This is in stark contradiction to my initial feelings about that pack. But we grow. We do. We grow. Sometimes our opinions change. I really like the pack now. I do really like the pack now. I use it a lot more than I thought, and I actually, in my off-camera legacy, I did actually travel to Batu with my family that I'm playing off camera, and it was actually kind of fun. I just said actually like 4 times in 2 sentences, but it was pretty fun to play around with. It took a while for me to kind of learn the ropes, but it was enjoyable and the world's beautiful, so you could kind of make a story out of it if you want. Anyway, I also added those little lights from the toddler stuff pack, and then I just tried to make it a little bit more dim in here to kind of set the vibe. There's a trash can in here just in case, and then we move on to the upstairs of the same building, which is where there is going to be the DJ as well as a few different dance floors. So I added another platform over here by the door. I did use, I believe, a fence from the Werewolf pack as well, just to kind of separate that door, the entrance to the actual platform. But I did test this. The DJ came and they were just bumping the tunes the second my sim showed up. So it worked perfectly fine, which I was thrilled with. And I also, because I had a werewolf that I brought here and I made them, in their human form, I made them howl in the middle of this nightclub. And like the DJ and everybody stopped doing what they were doing and they started panicking. Didn't realize that was going to happen. That was during my playtesting. But yeah, the DJ stand works, which is fantastic. There's 3 different dance floors just because I wanted it to look like it was one giant dance floor. And I used the one from Get Together that has all of these cardboard boxes. I thought that was super fitting here. I added a few lights, just adding some details upstairs and downstairs. I added this pipe too from Get to Work. I thought that was really neat, and I used it as a way to separate the use of that couch from the Werewolves game pack. I used it twice. I made like a little like hangout corner over here because it's such an awkward space. I didn't know what to do with it, but I ended up making that like a little seating area with the pallet coffee table from Eco Lifestyle, which was great. And then the rest of it's just open. It's just an open dance floor, which I thought was so cool. I was trying to look for other decorations to use, but I feel as though the build itself and this room had a lot of character, and I didn't really feel the need to clutter it up or decorate it wildly like I typically do. I'm just adding the rugs again. I tried to use different swatches, but I did repeat a few of them just because they work so well with this whole style. But these are the rugs from the Werewolf pack as well. I added a few pieces of artwork just to kind of really capture that this is a werewolf hangout. It's not for human Sims, and it's definitely not for vampires. They are not allowed here. Oh, I should have hung garlic. That would have been such a good idea. I should have hung garlic in all the doorways so they basically wouldn't enter. Oh, that would be a good idea. If you want to make this exclusively like a werewolf hangout, I would do that. I feel like that might work. I haven't done that much in gameplay, actually using the garlic to repel vampires, but I believe it gives them at least a negative moodlet and they will run away. Now, this is going to be the other building. I did struggle here greatly, but I used these card tables, or the Sabak tables, I want to say, from Journey to Batu. You can either play cards. Sabak is like the specific game, I believe, from Star Wars. I don't recall, but you can change the game out, and this was a great place for your Sims, or your werewolves specifically, to come and hang out, have a nice card game, and maybe get away from the energy of the nightclub side of things. This is just kind of a nice place to gather and hang out. I should have put a stereo here, I think. I didn't do that downstairs. I would probably put one downstairs here, but upstairs I do have some bookshelves with a few couches as well as a ping pong table. So it's almost kind of like it has some library elements to it where you can come and unwind that way. So like this building's very calm and the other building is very lively with music and like loud noises, and this one over here is a little bit more chill. I don't actually know if that was intentional on my end. I don't think it was. I don't really know, but I decorated it very quickly. Again, I didn't go crazy with decorations. I wanted there to be a few plants, a few different industrial pieces here and there, but again, I don't think it really needed it. I think the curtains and the windows added a lot of character as is. And then, as I mentioned, the only bathrooms are the bushes. So you might still be thinking, if you didn't catch that earlier, like, where's she going to put the bathrooms? They're just going to be placed all over the lot in the form of a bush. But anyway, that is pretty much it for the build. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I forgot to mention that I have a strong urge, a thirst for the worst. Inside daydreams, I can see past the caramel.